Right, so without much further ado, let's continue. My name is Timileyin Oladayo from the Department of Food Science and Technology, FASTAG. Today I'm going to be presenting the topic titled Food Fraud and its impact on food safety. Okay. First of all, introduction. When we say food, what do we mean by food? Food is any substance that consists entirely of protein, carbohydrates, fats, and other nutrients used in the body of an organism to sustain growth and vital daily activities. So food is anything that we ingest into our body to make us perform our daily activities. Likewise, what is food safety? According to the Australian Institute of Food Science, they define food safety as the handling, preparation, and storing of food in a way to best reduce the risk of individuals becoming sick from foodborne illness. The Global Food Safety Initiative and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, also define food safety as an assurance that food will not cause harm to the consumer or eating according to intended use. On hearing the topic, I know the first question that will come to your mind will be, what is food fraud? Food fraud is the art of deliberately or intentionally altering or mislabeling, tampering, substituting, or misrepresenting any food products or food ingredients at any moment in the food supply chain. Food fraud can also be said to consist of claiming to sell a particular grade of foodstuff, while in actual fact, they are selling another thing. And according to the Food and Drug Administration, they can also call food fraud as economically motivated adulteration. That is, when you sell a food product that are not up to the recognized standard to increase your financial gains. Food fraud is characterized by the following: deception of customers. The main objective of food fraud is to deceive the customers to make them buy something that is different from what they intend to buy. Then it violates food laws. Likewise, it's done to gain financial gain. It's done because of financial gains. Food fraud can result in some unintended public and private health consequences. It can lead to criminal litigations for whosoever is practicing food fraud. It can lead to economic gain and losses, like when you buy a specific grade of products from a producer, unknowingly to you, it has been tampered with during the production line or during the supply line. Then people find out, definitely you are going to make losses from selling those products. Likewise, it leads to loss in consumer confidence. People that consume your products, when it gets tampered with, they lose confidence in you. Also, it can lead to religious or ethical issues. There might be some religious problem coming from food fraud, like in an instance where you make use of meats that are not acceptable by some religion. That can lead to some issues. This food fraud can come in different types. The first one I'm going to talk about is concealment. That's when you make use of low quality products and you conceal it without letting the consumers know the kind of ingredients you use in producing that product. Also, we have mislabeling, that is the attached false claims to the packaging for financial gains. We have unapproved announcements. That's when you ask or you didn't declare the materials used in producing your food products so that to improve the quality. It might be some banned substances. Some examples I'm going to mention later. Then we might have dilution. That's increasing the volume of liquid products to have a higher volume, and so that you can sell more and earn more. Then we have counterfeiting. That's duplicating the package, brand name, processing method, and every other thing so that you can gain more money. Then we have theft too. That is selling excesses of products. Like if they have product that they discard from the factory, maybe due to some defects, if you go about and sell those products, so you are committing food fraud. Another one is misrepresentation. That is not stating the particular information about the food product correctly, like the country of origin of the food, the cultivar used in producing the product, and so on. Like in continuation, adulteration is still part of food fraud. That is when the food product contains fraudulent components. An example is when you add melanin to milk. Overrun is another type of food fraud. This is when you produce excess amount of production, and then you are underreporting what you produce so that you can sell the excess out. Simulation, this is like doing a replica of a product. I think some years back, we do have replica of Coca-Cola and the likes. So that's like copying a product to look like a product. Then we have diversion. That's the sale or distribution of legal products outside of their intended market. Like relief food directed to markets, like all these war-torn countries. If they produce like all this winning food for them, and you go about and sell it in another country. That's one example of food fraud. Now, globally, these are some of the most adulterated foods. We have olive oil, we have milk, we have honey, we have orange juice, we have coffee, we have apple juice, we have maple syrup, vanilla extract, and grape wine. I'll talk about some ways in which these products have been adulterated. Coffee, for instance, there might be some misinterpretation and false claim about where they come from, which is an important information for any consumer of coffee. Likewise, milk. Melanin is usually added to improve the apparent protein content, which is against the law. Honey. I know you might have bought all the sugar honeys one time or the other in this Nigeria, and they'll tell you this one is OEBD, whereas you are just buying sugar syrup. Fruit juices, they can be diluted to increase the volume. Cheese, non-cow cheeses can be mixed with cow cheeses to increase the volume and for more financial gains. Likewise, butter. Now, bringing it down to Nigeria, the one closer to us, let's talk about some forms in which food fraud occurs in Nigeria. First of all, I will talk about tampering and counterfeiting. This is when the food products are intentionally modified to give you another thing. An example is donkey meat being sold in some part of Nigeria as beef. And this also occurred in Europe too, when horse meat was sold to consumers as beef. Also, there is an incident of repackaging of industrial salt as ionized salt. I think in the year 2014 to 2019, that's an example of food fraud too. Then we can have fish and fish products. They are some of the most adulterated food in Nigeria too. Like you going out to buy a species of food or fish while you have been sold another thing because you can't differentiate between the two. That's one example of fish and fish products being fraudulent. Then we have dilution of food products. Taking palm oil for an example, in the year 2009 in north central Nigeria, a palm oil merchant diluted palm oil with water and an unidentified chemical compound to increase the redness of the palm oil. And when he was arrested, what do you think he said? He said he don't know that it's illegal, that he doesn't know any effects the chemical will have on the food, on the palm oil. Likewise, vegetable oil, we have seen instances of vegetable oils being diluted with other liquids to increase the volume. Pepper too is one of the most adulterated food products in Nigeria. Have you ever considered the difference in quality between the ground pepper you made by yourself and the ones you buy from all these wheelbarrow people in the market? There's a clear difference if you examine very well. Then poultry carcass. Some people, I don't know if you have seen this incident before. Maybe they are poultry, maybe they have any diseases and they die. Instead of them to throw them away, they quickly cut the neck, just package it and sell it off. That's one example of food fraud. Likewise, palm wine. When you go to the seller, you said, I want Ogidi palm wine. But whereas they are giving you the palm wine that is being adulterated. So that's one example of food fraud here in Nigeria that you know. Also, the common that everybody like, there is food fraud going on in that aspect too. In as much that they are using unapproved enhancements. Sometimes they use formaldehyde to speed up the fattening of the cow skin. This formaldehyde, as we all know, is carcinogenic in nature. Also, frozen foods imported into Nigeria, some of them make use of formalin, which is illegal to use.
Hello. Please be informed that you have 2 minutes more for your presentation.
Oh, okay. Now, with the increasing food fraud, what are the effects of this food fraud? Generally speaking, food frauds have some severe effects on food safety, but most times it's just basically reduce food quality. So its effects tend to go unnoticed, and sometimes there is no clear connection between food fraud and diseases it causes. But in some cases, it can lead to grievous health diseases, like the maize scandal in China in 2008 that resulted in the deaths of infants. Some can lead to vitamin deficiencies in substituted products too. So, what are the ways we can use to prevent food fraud? Number one is improving ties between suppliers, that is, companies manufacturing foods should have a good relationship with their suppliers. Efficient audit policy, including steps to combat fraud. As a company producing food products, you should have a clear policy to make sure that throughout your supply chain, you monitor your products and they are not being adulterated. Then establishing an early adulteration identification and alarm system. Exploring and investing in real-time research and emerging technology. Then public and private collaboration to ensure that food fraud is combated. Knowledge exchange through organizations and industries, then testing of third-party supplier groups. In conclusion, food fraud incidents are increasingly becoming threat to food safety due to severe impacts that it can bring. Therefore, the food chain system needs continually strengthened to prevent, detect, and control possible food fraud. Both government and private bodies in the food supply chain have a huge role to play in curbing food fraud. Thank you. If you have any questions,
Oh, very well.
let me know.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Oladayo. Thank you for your time. Please kindly express. Okay, thank you. Yes, so it was really was a well detailed session. Though I'd like to start from this reaction that was sent by Olatunji, who stated that he feels replacing fraud with adulteration would be better in that context because it feels that it would be much more acceptable and more scientific. So what do you think? So it feels the topic should be food adulteration, the impact on food safety.
Thank you for the question. Food adulteration in itself is a type of food fraud. Food fraud encompasses many things, like I've said in the types of food fraud. So food adulteration is one type of food fraud. Did that answer your question?
Well, when you respond, we'll know if you answer this question. So there's a question here. Concealment and dilution. Can you say we can sue companies like Coca-Cola based on change in taste of products and or demand for the formula used for the product? I don't know if this is a question for you to answer, but that's the question.
I'm not a lawyer, so let me just say this. You can't ask them for their components, like their product formulation. That's what we call patents or something like. So they can't divulge that onto you. Now, if you feel they are diluting their products, you can make a complaint to their customer service center, and hopefully they will do something to that. But if you have evidence that for sure they are doing this thing, then why not? You can consult a lawyer and you can charge them to court. But I'm not a lawyer, I can't talk about that aspect. Thank you.
Very well. So still speaking about law. So there's a question here that is there any law in Nigeria that governs against food fraud?
Yes, there is. The National NAFDAC is the sole agency responsible for food regulations in Nigeria. There are countless of laws that is put in place to combat food fraud. Now, implementation of the law is another thing. Thank you.
Very well. Okay, so there's this question that can adulteration in cooked food also be considered food fraud? Can adulteration in cooked food also be considered food fraud?
Any form of adulteration that differs from the original plan of the food? Yes.
So I guess the direct answer is yes. Very well. Okay, so there's another question. Thank you for the presentation. We have seen cases where a product actually started well, but along the line the product became appalling. Are there follows by this food are there follow-ups by these food regulatory bodies after initial testing? And if not, how can that be checked?
Like I said, in Nigeria, we have bodies responsible for all these regulations and laws. But the main thing is, are they doing it? Are they implementing it the right way? Of course, if there is a change in the quality of what you are getting, you have the right to complain because you pay money to buy the product. Now, you can forward your complaint to appropriate authority. Now it's left to them to pick up on what you complain about and reach out to the producer for them to comply with the law.
Okay, very well. So please, if you are sure your question has been answered, you can indicate by either asking for clarification or just sending an emoji. Okay, so is dilution of food products for personal use also considered food fraud? That's another question from Olusegun Adelere. Is dilution of food products for personal use also considered food fraud?
Like, if you go back to my definition, I said food fraud is intended for financial gain, economically motivated adulteration. Since you are the only one consuming the products, it's for your own intended use, then we can't say that one is food fraud. But if it's meant to be sold to the public and you are not going to tell them that, oh, I've diluted this product, then that's definitely food fraud.
Well, doesn't that make it a a personal food fraud case? Like the person is fraudulent to himself or to herself.
If you are buying a product, there are different methods, processing method you are going to use for it. Like if I'm buying palm oil now and I'm mixing it with vegetable oil to cook my stew, I won't say that one is food fraud because I'm the one using it. Of course, I'm diluting it. But if I'm mixing out things together now to sell it to the public, then that's food fraud. Do you understand the difference now?
Well, very well. Okay, so there's a question here from Olayinka Mode. Okay, Olayinka. Can we say food fraud is related to public health issues?
Yes, of course, of course. Like I told you in the effects of food fraud, I said it can result in some mild and severe public health issues. A case is that of China, the mixed scandal in China in 2008 that leads to the death of some infants. So, of course, it's related to public health issues.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, I guess that wraps up our question and answer session. Yes. So, thank you so much, Mr. Oladayo. Thank you for this insightful session and opening our eyes to see the basic things about food fraud and how we can ensure that we know the difference between when it becomes personal and when it becomes public. So as a roundup, our director will be coming up to address everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.